It's the Battle of the Bees. Barbie versus Blue Beetle. Who won? And also, when is the TARDIS going to materialize? We're going to talk about that and more on today's episode of the Geek Watch Podcast.
This is the Geek Watch Podcast with Brian Hatcher and Mandy Petrie.
Greetings, Geek Watchers, and welcome to episode 198 of the Geek Watch Podcast. I'm Brian Hatcher, and with me, as always, Geek Watch's own resident geek goddess, Mandy Petrie.
Hello, Brian.
So we are on day 115, 116 of the strike.
Wow.
And we did talk about the strike a little bit last week, and that there was talk going on. And eventually, WGA released a statement saying that, well, it wasn't nothing, but it wasn't nearly where it needed to be. And so they are back striking. And so here we go. It's still going.
Yep.
Apparently, one of the big sticking points, again, is AI.
Yes.
They're not wanting to play nicely. Apparently, they still want to use a lot of AI. But I am going to point this out. This week, something really interesting happened on that field, because an AI company decided to go to court about the ability to copyright. A federal judge in the D.C. federal court basically ruled that AI content cannot be copyrighted. Because copyright is meant to protect human work. Yeah, human work.
I get it.
Where I write something or you draw or paint something, there's work involved
It's your
there.
intellectual property, yes.
Exactly. And copyrights were meant to allow you to have exclusive rights to it long enough so that you can make some money off of it, but also not so long that it winds up disappearing.
Right.
So it becomes public domain eventually.
Yes.
But what this judge ruled was that AI doesn't need that kind of protection, so it doesn't get it.
Okay.
Which means that if you create something with AI, whether it is a picture or a script, no matter how good it is,
someone else can grab a hold of it and do
Yes.
whatever they want with it.
It's public domain.
Wow.
And so that changes the game a lot.
Yeah.
Because if you can't copyright it, then you're really taking a chance that if you put something out, because somebody puts out a movie with an AI-generated script, anybody could just pick it up and...
Yeah.
Or if you're using AI-generated images, that means anybody can grab them and use them any way that they want.
Yeah.
In a real sense, that takes a lot of the impetus out of being able to use AI to generate art or literature or whatever, because...
I think back to many years ago, and by many, maybe 10, one of those very addicting games that you would download to your phone. The one that became popular was a ripoff of one that was less popular, but they made all the money, and it was just different enough to really screw over the first person who made it.
Right.
That's what could happen if you use AI to create some cute short film, and then someone takes that and rips it off and becomes more famous than you do. They are going to reap the benefits that you should have had.
Yeah. A lot of that stuff happens on TikTok where somebody, it does, because somebody will come up with some idea, but
challenge. Yeah,
a challenge or a dance or whatever, but then somebody else who has a lot more followers, they duplicate it.
Right.
But they're the ones who wind up becoming famous, and that happens all the time. But you make a really good point. Very often, the bigger, more popular people wind up being able to take something and they're able to disseminate it a lot better. But also in this situation, especially with Hollywood, obviously they would be the biggest players in the game. But if you can't copyright a movie, that means that somebody can go into a movie theater and record it, and they can release it.
You can't even call that bootlegging anymore, as you once did.
Exactly. Yeah, it wouldn't even be considered bootlegging. But that's where things get really complicated, because what are you able to copyright, what are you not able to copyright? And it becomes very murky at that point. And so it's really a situation that becomes just unattainable. It's just not going to really work for you if you can't copyright 100% of the work. Now, obviously, the AI company that brought the suit out, they're going to appeal it. I don't see a whole lot changing. I don't see how you're going to be able to really make an argument about protecting the AI work. And
Right.
so
People aren't going to protect robots. We can barely get them to protect animals, so I don't
yeah.
see it happening. And there's way too much speculative literature that tells us giving robots rights is not a good idea. Then again, not giving robots rights is not a good idea. We've read way too much Isaac Asimov to...
I think it's going to be something really interesting as that develops to see how that's going to affect this whole discussion about AI, not just with the WGA, but SAG-AFTRA as well, and how that may change the complexion of discussions going forward. But we'll find out. But you can definitely tell that we are dipping into the abyss at this point as far as content.
We're on the precipice of a...
Well, we're starting to fall into the precipice at this point. And I've noticed it for a couple of things. Of course, the big thing, obviously, is Warner Brothers is pushing everything. They've already said that they're moving Dune 2 to 2024. And I knew when that block fell, things were getting serious. Because that for them was going to be a huge moneymaker.
Yep.
And they need huge moneymakers. The fact that they're delaying it, that tells you just how bad things are going at this point. Because it's not like they can really afford to do that. Especially when we look at last weekend. Blue Beetle, which came out last weekend.
Did it?
Here we go.
I know. It's just been, you and I are currently a part of a production that is taking up all of my time, and I don't even know what's going on around me this second. Right now, there could be a dog fight going on behind me, and I wouldn't know it. I want to see Blue Beetle. It's something that I was looking forward to, and I will eventually.
Yeah.
So how did it do?
Well, it's the #1 movie.
Yay! Oh, thank goodness.
It beat out Barbie.
Really?
It did. But here's the thing. Okay.
No.
Barbie did $12 million in the box office last weekend, which makes a lot of sense because this is like 4 weeks at #1. Blue Beetle made $15 million. So, yeah.
Just over. Little tiny bit over.
Yeah. So it beat Barbie, but it beat Barbie's 5th week.
Yeah. But is it making back what it needed to make?
Let's put it this way. How much do you think $15 million is going to cover the bill on a superhero movie with a lot of special effects because you have a morphing suit, basically, which is the main power? $15 million? Not really. When you look at Barbie, her first #1 week, $162 million opening.
Yeah.
$15 million is not going to cover the advertising budget.
Yeah.
Much less the special effects and all of that stuff. So
while it's #1, it's still technically bombed.
Yeah.
Oh, that's painful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's painful because Blue Beetle is maybe not my top heroes, but I love that hero. I love the mythos. I love everything about it. Oh, man.
But a couple of years ago, I fought tooth and nail against this idea of superhero fatigue. Now I'm starting to question that belief a little bit. Maybe it was more of, I didn't want to believe that was a possibility, but you and I have been busy, so that had a lot to do with it, but I haven't gone to see Blue Beetle either. I want to see it, but I haven't had a chance to see it.
Again, I'm okay to wait.
Yeah.
I can wait for it to come out to streaming. I'm fine with that. So that is...
Yeah,
well.
But the thing about it is, especially with superhero movies, streaming isn't going to make them a whole lot of money. I'm going to be interested to see what happens this weekend. Does Blue Beetle keep their #1 spot?
Right.
Or does Barbie take it back?
Is anything new coming out this weekend that we...
Not anything that I can think of that's
Nothing
really...
that's going to compete or anything.
Yeah. Again, we're getting into the precipice. Stuff coming out. I mean, things are really starting to slow down.
We might end up getting like 1 movie a week. So that's going to be the #1, and it's going to make like $1 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll definitely depend on whether it's a movie that people can get behind and get excited about. You look at The Marvels is coming out here soon, and I'm not sure people are going to be all that excited to see it. Already it seems like they're doing damage control for this movie.
Oh.
which is a shame. Now, one of the questions the director of the film keeps getting is, what do you think about superhero fatigue? It's like they're already setting them up to explain why the movie doesn't do well. And I'm like, that's not a good idea.
Speaking of damage control and along those lines, I don't know that it is just superhero movies, because I'm hearing likewise tales from Snow White.
Mm-hmm.
That they're starting to dismiss Snow White for all these different reasons. They're not calling it Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. They're calling it Snow White and the Bandits. The other live-action films of animated classics aren't doing as well as they once had been.
Mm-hmm.
So it may not just be superheroes. It may be just
movies in general.
Movies in general are taking a hit.
This summer, certainly, this summer has been really difficult for movies in general. Snow White is a strange situation because there are so many people ready to cancel this movie because you're not using little people for the dwarves, and Snow White isn't, which... Here we go again. Yeah. Everybody's all upset. Her name is Snow White, for Pete's sake. I'm like, I don't see why this is that big of a deal.
I mean, she still looks exactly the way she should. She looks like that character. Her hair, her mannerisms, everything. To me, it's just a name. That's Bianca. There's nothing wrong with someone named Bianca not being white. That's just the name of the character. And she had a sister in the original fairy tale. She had a sister named Rose Red. Are we going to have a sunburnt princess as well? It's not something that, to me, it's no big deal. And she's beautiful and she looks good. One thing that they're talking about is that she said, okay, Snow White's not sitting around waiting for a prince to save her. And people are getting mad about that. But every single live-action princess in every single interview has said the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Lily James said, oh, Cinderella, she's not just waiting for a prince. And Jasmine says she's not just waiting for her prince. And they've all said that.
Oh, yeah.
And it's nothing different. And we still got excited about Cinderella and Belle. And I think that they have shot themselves in the foot before even giving this movie a chance. And that's happening to the Marvels. That's happening to several movies. People are just looking for a reason not to like it before they even go.
Well, you have Ben Shapiro putting out a 45-minute YouTube clip of him burning Barbies because of how woke that movie was.
Huh.
So
is that the people shooting the Anheuser-Busch things and burning Harry Potter books? You already bought them. You're still making them money.
Yeah.
And who was the author that said, oh, yeah, go ahead, buy more of my books and burn them. That'll show me. Yeah, you're still contributing. You're still making them money. You're still giving them money. What?
Yeah.
I don't understand what you think you're proving here.
Just that you're really mad.
You're so mad that you're going to give them money.
And whether or not you believe that, Barbie shouldn't be woke, or J.K. Rowling and the things that she's had to say about trans people, but if you're buying their stuff and burning it, you're supporting them, regardless of
You're still buying their stuff.
Exactly. So maybe if you own them already and you're like, I'm going to burn them, maybe that's one thing. So maybe if Ben Shapiro, if these were his Barbies, and he doesn't feel comfortable playing with them anymore, okay, fair enough, go ahead and burn them, that's fine.
Yeah, but I really hope that he cut the hair and drew on them, made it that Barbie, the Kate McKinnon Barbie, before he sent them out, and like we all did.
There you go. But it's just weird in general as far as content and things are shifting around. We just got an announcement and a poster that the new season of Rick and Morty is coming out October the 15th.
Is it?
Yeah. And they said it's going to be better than ever, and Rick and Morty sound more like themselves than ever. And
wait, what?
Yeah, that.
Wait, what?
Didn't the guy that you had who voiced them, didn't you have to get rid of him?
So how can he sound more like himself when he's no longer himself?
Yeah.
I mean, I know when Mel Blanc died, someone else is voicing Bugs Bunny.
Right.
It doesn't mean he sounds more like himself than he ever did. That's
it's a weird...
A weird advert.
Yeah, well, obviously that is the 600-pound gorilla in the room is how is all of this going to sound now that Justin Roiland is gone? Mm-hmm. And we haven't gotten a trailer yet, but I guarantee you people are going to be really interested to see that trailer and hear what the voices are going to sound like.
Yeah.
And not to say they're not going to be able to get somebody who can do a really good impression of those voices.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But Adult Swim, they're really putting it out there that this is going to be the Rick and Morty that everybody loves. There's not going to be any real changes. It's going to be as dark and twisted as it always has been. And like you say, it's weird that they would go to that level of saying they sound more like themselves. Mm-hmm. But they're also saying weird things like it's like a return to form in a way. They said, we're going back to what made Rick and Morty great. And okay, that's a strange way of saying that not only is getting rid of Justin Roiland not a detriment, but it's actually an advantage to the show. Our show is actually going to be better without him.
Okay.
And not saying that couldn't be the case, because obviously the creative minds and the writers behind the show are still going to be there. Mm-hmm. But this idea of saying, oh, the show is going to be better than ever.
I feel like maybe they're being intentionally provocative because the Rick and Morty fan base has a reputation.
Yeah, it's not a lie.
That they have, yes, that they have almost cultivated, like purposefully cultivated this
emphasis
toxic
on the word
fan base.
Yeah, emphasis on the word cult and cultivated.
Yeah. The Rick and Morty cult,
Yeah.
and so much that you're stomping on the countertops of McDonald's.
The Rick and Morty fandom, and I consider myself part of the fandom.
Not that part.
But but I think, honestly, yeah, there are certain parts of that fandom that maybe take things a little bit too seriously. But in geek culture, there are a lot of situations.
There are always those cults. It's
we have those.
It's that certain denomination.
Yeah. Yeah.
And every one of them has it.
Yeah. Every group has their fundamentalists.
Yes.
Whether it's an issue with
Orthodox, fundamentalists,
the Orthodox,
charismatics.
Yep. Snake handlers.
The snake handlers, yes.
Yeah, every cult has them.
Every cult has them.
You make an extremely good point there, is that there is a fan base they're trying to assuage, and it's not going to be easy.
Yeah, but are they trying to assuage them, or are they trying to purposely piss them off? To garner that reaction out of them, they're going to force them to watch it just so they can hate on it.
What's really strange, and this is something that we've talked about before, in the YouTube, TikTok world that we live in, social media, engagement is more important than anything.
Right.
And hate watching something counts.
Right. I mean, like Shapiro.
Yeah.
Hey, he still watched it.
Yep. It doesn't matter if they watch it to like it or watch it to hate it. And so engagement is the important thing. So can you create something that is so good people will love to watch it, or so filled with emotion and hatred of something that people will either go with you because they feel the same way, or they hate it, but they watch it to see what you've got to say about it so that they can hate on you.
Right. They can hate on you.
And
they can hate on it. They can make T-shirts. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you could look at this either way as far as this advertising. Again, it's really a strange way of going about it, but again, we are not living in the world we used to for a bunch of different reasons. The one thing that worries me, when I go through the news, and this was the other reason why I realized that we were going into the abyss, was now you're seeing all these news articles that are like, the 10 most overrated directors of all time. I'm like, really? Have we come to that now we're just going to start hating on people because we got nothing else to write about? Yeah, we've gotten to that point. But, and I saw this article, and I'm going to have to research this because, again, I don't know if this is one of those clickbaity articles because I didn't click on it, but I saw the headline, which is because COVID is starting to spike again, there are places that are now doing COVID restrictions again in the United States. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, that sounds like a great clickbaity title, but at the same time, 471 days of being in isolation, I don't take those type of things lightly.
Right.
And we are starting to get into the fall and the winter, and usually that's when things like the flu and COVID start hitting again. And my day job, which I never really talk about online for a bunch of different reasons.
Yes.
But I have a coworker who's been out all week for COVID. And so COVID hasn't gone away.
No. It's just become the new normal. It's our new normal. Every year we're going to get a COVID shot just like our flu shot.
Yeah.
It's just going to be a part of our lives now.
Yeah. So that headline had me really nervous. I'm like, the last thing I want to do is spend
Another.
I don't think I could deal with another month of being in isolation. And I'm hoping that we're not going to see that, because especially with the way things are now, you put COVID on top of it and people not going out. I mean, even if it's a matter of it's all rumor, but we all know how rumors, the whole thing at the beginning of COVID about toilet paper, which started because it was just a rumor because Japan would get a bunch of their toilet paper from China. Well, China's where COVID started, and then there was this whole thing that, oh my God, there's going to be a toilet paper shortage. As if China does the world's butt napkins. They don't, like, even remotely do. But because of that, then suddenly toilet paper became this ridiculously expensive thing.
Yep.
And how many times do gas prices go up because
Constantly.
there's some rumor that happened, something happened in the Middle East, and then because honestly, it's not a matter of shortages that make prices rise. Is there a rumor strong enough that people believe it that...
And they will. They will believe it.
Yeah, and that's enough for someone to go, hey, I can make more money, and so here we are.
We are.
But it's like everything online has been weird. And I'll end it with this. The whole Doctor Who thing that happened this week.
Oh, that's right. The redaction and the...
Yeah, because on the 22nd, on the BBC's website, they were talking about Doctor Who and advertising it, letting people know that if you live in the United States, go to Disney Plus to see Doctor Who. And they talked about the 3 specials that we're getting in November, the Christmas special we're going to be getting. And then on the 22nd, they also announced that we're going to have new episodes of Doctor Who spring of 2024.
Yay!
And which is awesome,
Yes.
which is great. And then 2 days later, you go back to the page. It mentions the 3 specials. It mentions the Christmas special, but the whole discussion about spring 2024 just disappeared.
Silence.
So the question is, did they release something they didn't mean to release because they're not sure when they're going to have these new episodes out? Or is that when they're planning on doing it and they don't want to let anyone know yet? So was this a real date or a fake one? This wouldn't be the first time that something leaked from the BBC.
Yeah.
Because that happens a lot. But especially with everything else that's going on, I really feel like if Disney Plus has any say in any of this, they want this new Doctor Who as fast as they can get it. Because guess what they need right now? Content. Yeah. And the BBC and Bad Wolf, who, of course, are not part of the American strike because they're British companies,
Right.
they can do content. They can give them those episodes of Doctor Who, which, again, content is king at this point. It's a huge, huge importance. Everybody's just grabbing whatever they can get at this point. Yeah, Disney Plus desperately needs Doctor Who. I guess that's the question. What in the heck is going on here? But everything is going crazy. And if you're in the content providing business, if you're a movie studio or television studio right now, you're sweating it. Of course, if you're a small creator, things tend to open up. But these next few months are going to be really interesting. But I guess we'll see.
We shall see.
And with that said, we come to the end of episode 198. Thank you for listening, and tune in next time for the latest in geek news and views with the Geek Watch podcast. For Mandy Petrie, this is Brian Hatcher, reminding all the Geek Watchers out there, we're all geeky about something. Be proud of yours. See you next time. Thank you for listening to the Geek Watch podcast. If you enjoyed this program, don't forget to like and subscribe on your preferred platform and share this podcast on your social media. For links to all the ways you can listen to the Geek Watch podcast, as well as leave comments and suggestions, visit our website at geekwatch.net. The Geek Watch podcast is a Hanging J production.